Once I realized that not decentering men was going to hurt other women, I got busy. And this is almost how anybody who struggles with codependency, you can use it to your advantage. Decentering men for my own sake, maybe I just don't love myself enough to do that, right? I'm a masochist. But when I started to see the impact that centering men, and I don't mean like in dating world, I mean because even when I wasn't dating, I could still center men in my mindset, because this isn't even about men. It's about just patriarchal brainwashing and all the things that it taught me to be like good and how to like be nice and all this crap, right? I've not necessarily loved myself enough to do this work just for me. But if you're codependent and you tend to do things for other people that you would never do for yourself, well, decenter men for other people instead of yourself. You'll get two outcomes. You'll make the world a safer place for other women and just humans, all humans. And then you will also start to respect yourself more, and then, ultimately love yourself more. Although I'm pretty sure I'm never just going to not have a little part of me that's like, you suck, Melanie. But I've learned how to be even patient and not so judgmental of that little voice. If you don't know what I'm talking about, IFS therapy has really helped me with this, to not judge myself for judging myself. Like, what? Anyway, let me give you some example. So yesterday I was coming out of my building and there was a woman trying to come in at the same time I was coming out, and she had like typed in her little code and was waiting. And it made me think of all the times that I let people, but especially men, into buildings that I lived in, because it never occurred to me that that is a really dangerous thing to do. And in those moments of like codependency kind of taking over and like trauma responses and all that crap from childhood, my default was to always center men or their shame or their expectations, or maybe they'll be disappointed in me and I don't want that, their validation, their like pleasing them, over my own safety and the safety of other people. And so yesterday I actually like let this woman come in. I caught myself letting her come in and actually almost going out of my way helping her come in, but it's because she's like a really petite woman. I had seen her punch buttons and she was like waiting for someone to respond. I was like, okay, whatever. But I immediately felt a lot of shame for all the times that in my past, in other buildings, before I realized that this is like a really dangerous thing to do. And it's actually pretty selfish, even though it's rooted in codependency. It's selfish because I'm centering my approval or wanting to like please men, or men not being mad at me, over my safety and the safety of the entire building. And and men know this. They know that so many of us have like these, I want daddy to love me, so even though he might be dangerous, kind of thing going on. And they'll wait outside the door and be like, come on, just let me in. And then we feel stupid for not just believing them that this strange giant man belongs in this building. Like, anyway, seeing all the ways that me not defaulting to men could actually not only protect myself, but more importantly, especially if you have a really hard time centering yourself and your safety, is that I'm looking out for other people. See, that's how you use this like Jedi mind trick of like using your codependency to fight codependency. Codependency towards men, right? If I'm going to center someone, I would rather center the women and children and anyone who is vulnerable to the violence of men. I'd rather center them in a codependent way than men. I hate to use like the word maybe overuse the word codependent, because whatever, that's just like community mindset, being thoughtful, thinking like collective versus individualism, right? But I'm just saying codependency because it's not my default to ever be like, what is safe for me right now? It's like, it's not my default. It always hinges on someone else. And I've been doing a lot of work on myself so that I even though it's not my default, I pause and then be like, wait, what am I supposed to do? Oh, right. Yeah, I don't feel safe here, or I don't like this, or I should go, or whatever. But it takes a lot of work to get to that place where I even remember to pause and question this default to just be like, okay. So that's just one example. Let me give a couple others. How many times, I've talked about this before, have female roommates brought men into your home that made your entire home dangerous? Like, luckily, I never dated when I lived with anyone else, except for one time. And thank God she moved out before he permanently moved in and made that house like a house of horrors. Every time I talk about this, like, women will be in the comments and they'll be like, oh my God, yeah, my roommate, her boyfriend moved in. So now she's paying one rent, but there's two people and he's making a mess. And he's not, like, they literally just bring men into these houses that either just create more labor for everyone and literally never leave, just sit on the couch. But a lot of times bring in men who are seriously dangerous or just weird or creepy because of their own inability to set boundaries with these men, whether it's friends of theirs or boyfriends or whatever. That's why I say you got to be really careful about who you choose to live with, because you can say, I'm never living with a man again, and then you live with women, and one of those women has not done any work on decentering men and is extremely codependent. Well, good luck with that. Your house is just as dangerous as just having a man there, because she may be the person who's letting someone into the building every time there's a man outside trying to get in. You may be the person literally bringing someone into your home. You may be the person who, when a man asks for her number or whatever, or just isn't aware of how dangerous men are, or doesn't know how to, like, not take precautions. She may be somebody who a man follows home, and now you've got some stalker dude in your, you know what I mean? Like, as somebody who really just did not understand how dangerous men were, because I gave the worst men the benefit of the doubt, and then didn't trust the most trustworthy ones, which is so funny. It's like walking on your hands your whole life, and then you realize, oh my God, like, everything should be opposite day at this point. Just realizing that it's not just me that I put in danger when I'm centering men and defaulting to my codependency. I am putting everyone in danger, but especially other people just as vulnerable as me. That's how women end up losing friendships with other women. That's how women end up inviting danger into what otherwise would have been a safe place. I mean, even as simple as, like, I made a video last week about women who bring their boyfriends to girls' night. Stop it. That night, you literally now have changed everything for all your friends because you can't say no to your boyfriend or your husband. So if you can't work on decentering men or your codependency or whatever's behind this for your own self-respect and self-love, please, for the love of God, do it for them. And that is literally where I started. That's where I started. I'm going to give one last example and then finish. This is a very extreme example, but I realized that, for instance, on the subway when I lived in New York, multiple times men were doing creepy stuff, sitting too close to me. Not even like creepy is like, of course, me, classic, downplaying SA. A man across the subway from me, walking off. That's SA, okay? But me just being like, and the women around me, they get up and walk. They leave. They center their safety and their peace of mind. Me, as someone, especially, and this is very common with survivors of childhood SA, especially within the family, is I will center that man, protecting that man from his own shame over my own safety. And there are so many instances where I was like, oh my God, this is wrong. And I'd freeze, and freeze and fawn is also a trauma response. But me literally catching myself thinking, well, you can't get up because then he'll feel bad. You don't want him to feel bad about himself. And it was one of my mentors in New York who started this work with me a long time ago. She was like, some men need to feel bad. You're protecting them from feeling something that is a natural consequence of what they're doing. They should feel ashamed. They should be criticized. They should be humiliated for what they're trying to do. And in fact, you not saying anything and you pretending like it's cool is literally signaling to them that what they're doing is okay, and they get off on that. That just encourages them to keep doing it. And she was like, whenever I see a man doing that, I point at him and I laugh. It is the opposite of what they want. They want you to sit there in silence and feel shame and keep their dirty little secret. That's how they get off on it. And you not giving them that pleasure of taking on their shame and throwing it right back at them might give them pause next time. Maybe it won't, but at least you're not co-signing what they're doing as totally fine. The more they get away with it, the more emboldened they feel. And you know what happened? Years later, when I was traveling alone in a foreign country, I walked by a man who was walking off, and he looked up at me, and I just laughed, and he goes, and I was like, holy crap. I didn't take on his shame. I threw it right back at him. And now he feels shame for doing something totally inappropriate in public to make women feel unsafe. I understand there's nuance to this. Laughing at a man doing that could get you also unalive. I know that. What I'm saying is this is an extreme example. You can't stand up to and decenter them out of a place of self-love. Do it for the love of his next victims.